What is up, guys? Rekindled here, and today we are going to be showcasing the complete guide for how to upgrade your Tier 2 Solstice Armor to Tier 3 Solstice Armor from a blue Solstice set to the legendary purple Solstice set. And the best part of this is that even though there's one more set of objectives after this to upgrade your purple set to Masterwork, the purple set is actually going to drop at 400 power level. So if you do everything in this video, you will have all 400 power level armor, and that is a huge benefit. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, guys, if you're looking for amazing gaming headphones, including the ones I personally use, the A40s, check the link in the description down below because I've partnered with ASTRO. That's going to apply a code, you can save some money, and you help me out. That's the definition of a win-win right there. Okay, so let's get started with how to do this upgrading of armor sets. Now, it's a little bit different with the blue set of armor in the fact that there isn't a bunch of semi-complicated things with the elemental orbs involved. In fact, you won't have to do any elemental orbs with this blue set. So a big tip right off the bat with the blue set is that at any point, you do not have to be wearing the full set of armor. You can just have whatever things on that you're working on. And so you can use exotics or legendary armor pieces that will help you out, recharge your abilities faster or give you a higher power level, whatever you need them to do. So again, you don't need to be producing those elemental orbs. There's no reason to use the full set. However, and that's a big however, you do want to be, for the most part, wearing as much of this gear as you can, because the trick to completing this set of armor in a timely fashion is to be able to be doing multiple things at once, doing an activity and grinding 3 or more different armor objectives at the same time. So, what are you going to need to do to upgrade this armor? Well, number one, you're going to have to do all 5 of the Redux story missions again, one for each piece of armor. And when you're doing those, this is going to be where that kind of tip applies, you want to also be using the proper weapons and subclasses that are going to benefit you and charge your other goals. For example, some of the background goals, not activity related, but just background goals you'll have to do is, number one, you're going to have to get elemental super kills. For me on the Titan, it was solar super kills. Now remember, although I'm coming at you with the experience of a Titan, these objectives are going to be the exact same for all different classes except slight differences in element and stuff like that. So you will have to do super kills of a certain element. Additionally, you're going to have another piece of armor that requires you to get kills with a certain elemental weapon type. So for me, it was just killing enemies with solar weapons. Somewhat similar to that, there's another piece of armor where you have to kill enemies with a certain element of power weapons. So for me, it was defeat enemies with arc power weapons, and then you have a general defeat enemies. You really don't have to worry about that one. But in addition to that, you're also going to have to defeat enemies with a certain elemental grenade type, so kill enemies with arc grenades, it was for me, and then you have to kill enemies with a certain element of melee. So for me, it was kill enemies with void melee attacks. So, those are the background objectives that you can do while you're completing the required activities. And the activities are, as I've stated, the redone story missions. You have to do 1 Nightfall. You have to complete 10 adventures. You have to do 3 heroic strikes, and you have to win 5 Crucible matches. And don't worry, I've got some tips for most of those to how to speed those up. But this is going to result in kind of a farming method for this armor set. So I would definitely recommend doing the story missions first and putting whatever subclass on that involves the super kills. For me, like the solar super kills, those took quite a while to complete. I did a lot of missions, a lot of strikes and so on, and it is a lot of solar kills. Even though I was using hammers, which is able to have a ton of damage output, kill a ton of enemies at once, it still took me a long time to complete. So put that on while you're doing the story missions and strikes and so on. Now, at the same time, you want to be using weapons that allow you to complete the Elemental Weapons Challenge. Now, if you want, you could use an energy weapon for example, solar weapon kills, and then use an arc weapon for the arc power weapon kills, or whatever elements you have, and kind of do those both at the exact same time. That's definitely an option. Now, as for your grenade kills and your melee kills, you probably will have to save those simply because it takes a decent amount of time to complete the stuff I've just talked about, and there is some farming method for those two different things. But by all means, if you complete your super kills and you still have to do heroic strikes, for example, well, switch to your proper grenades or melee kills elemental subclass and then try to get those done. So, if you go through all of those different activities, the story missions, the patrols, the strikes, and so on, and you still have grenade kills and melee kills at the end, my definite tip for you guys, and a little bit of a farming strategy, is to simply load in on Mars and start an escalation protocol by yourself. Now, another tip here is that you may find that it's kind of hard to get by yourself. There's always other people there. You can actually roll back the clock if you're on a console, like set the date to yesterday, and then when you load in, you'll be alone. So you can do that really, really easily. And as you're seeing in the background gameplay, you can simply throw a grenade that does continuous damage and the thralls just run into it. Incredibly easy to get grenade kills done doing this method. That will definitely help you guys out. As for melee kills, it's gonna be a little bit more rough. Now, a tip here for anyone who's picked a Titan, this is gonna be huge. You actually have void melee kills, and guess what? The super for your Sentinel Titan counts towards void melee kills. As you can see in the background, that's absolutely huge. I tried to do it with a sword and it didn't count, unfortunately. Now also, if you're a hunter, you're going to have solar melee kills, so just use your throwing knife and make sure you have the perk that lets it recharge. You can just instantly recharge it and throw it like several times in a row. That's going to help you out a ton as well. Now, if you're a warlock, I'm sorry, but it's just going to take a while. Moving on from there, a little bit more tips when it comes to the activities. For the 10 adventures, they can be any adventure, any location. So you do not need to do heroic adventures or anything like that. You can do the very base EDZ, incredibly easy adventures. Additionally, you can do the same ones more than once. If you have some really quick ones that you know of, the ones on Mars are actually surprisingly quick. You can do those yourself and then get a teammate in there and they can load through theirs and you can do those same ones again and it will still count towards your 10. Now, as for the 5 Crucible wins, there's really no way around it. You're going to have to slog through the Crucible. Obviously, try to get as many teammates as you can. You know, the bigger your team, the better your chances of success rather than just going in randomly with a bunch of people. If you're a very talented player, you may want to consider something, you know, with less teammates around, like quick play. You know, you can't really carry 5 terrible blueberries. But if you are not so good, maybe do quick play, because then, of course, you can get carried. Like, there's really no tips or tricks necessarily, other than the fact that you'll just have to slog through this. Remember, like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't have to use your entire set of blue armor. By all means, be using exotics or whatever you have to, you know, increase your chances to do well in the Crucible. Just make sure the one piece of blue Solstice armor that has the objective to get the Crucible wins is on. Everything else doesn't matter. Now, moving on from there, really the last thing that we're going to talk about is the Nightfall completion. Now, some players may be dreading that and dreading getting a team together, but a huge tip for you guys is to do the Prestige Nightfall instead of the normal Nightfall. Now, that sounds a little bit weird, but because of how the modifiers work, and as you can see in the background, you can select purely beneficial modifiers, no negative modifiers. Walk through the Nightfall like it's absolutely nothing, just be tanking all the enemies, and then complete it. Your score can be basically 0 as long as you complete a Nightfall. It will count towards this armor set. So we selected Solar Singe as a modifier, even though it's a pure medium that maybe isn't the best idea, but we're playing Titans and hammers just do so much damage with Solar Singe. And additionally, make sure you select the heavy modifier where heavy does more damage, and also the ammo is found in higher abundance. That makes things so easily, like you were just running through there with shotguns and just tanking everything, and rocket launchers do incredible amounts of damage. I mean, just look at how fast we melt the Nightfall boss. It's kind of amazing. And obviously, you know, this fight and killing the boss before he can even do anything is going to be so much easier than slogging through a normal difficulty Nightfall, where completing this is going to be very difficult to do because your heavy is just doing normal damage and you don't have a singe and so on. So put it to Prestige and absolutely cheese those modifiers and just run through it. And there you have it. That should cover all of the different objectives with this blue armor set. Once it's all complete, you simply head back to the tower, to the statue, and then simply interact with it, and it's going to automatically give you the purple set, which again will be 400 power level. Now you can actually increase that to 405 with mods, so have fun. Guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.